All right, I will say good morning. Let us begin. We're just going to actually spend a few moments on Hatzaddik this morning so we can get a little bit of a head start on the daf. But we're going to, Emir Hashem, complete Os Samech Dalet. So let's continue page Kuf Nun Zayin. Page Kuf Nun Zayin, the bottom right hand column in the Be'uriah Hasidus. So the Rebbe writes as follows: Va'al inyan zeh shehaya misayeya la'adam im holech al pi anira lo b'derech haTorah af she'in zeh ratzon Hashem em. Supposed to remember again, Reb Tzaddik's concept is that the Ribono Shel Olam may allow a person to be successful in life in a particular endeavor, even if the Ribono Shel Olam does not feel that that particular endeavor is a good idea. If the individual truly feels committed to the fact that they are performing Ratzon Hashem, the fact that they are performing the will of God. A dramatic idea that Baderech Sha'adam Rotze Leleich Molichin also. If a person truly believes that they're walking along the Derech Hashem, the proper path, even if the Ribono Shel Olam disagrees, the Mais, again, the Chodesh Baruch Hu will help them along that path. So he gives an example here. He says, Be'emes ne'emar lo b'shamayim miklomar me'achar shekvar nosna Torah mehar Sinai ein anu mashkichim bebaskol min hashamayim hagam shi emes. So we'll say there's a concept, an interesting concept in halacha of lo b'shamayim. What does lo b'shamayim mean? That even if halacha l'maisa, a person were to go ahead and be supported by a baskol, right, as we're going to see in just a moment, Chodesh Baruch Hu were to come out and to say the halacha follows so and so, that would not be a definitive raya in halacha. He gives an example. Umuva b'gimar k'shenechleku Rabbi Eliezer v'chachamim b'din tanur shechatcha chulios. Supposed to remember again, famous Gemara Maseches Bava Metzia of tanur shalach noi. It was a machlokes of tuma and tara that specifically dealt with an oven that was comprised of different pieces. So there was a machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, and what happens? Yatsa Sabaskol min hashamayim va'amra shalacha kimosa b'chol makom. Sabaskol came out and said that the halacha always follows Rabbi Eliezer. Halacha always follows Rabbi Eliezer. So the Gemara says, and yet va'amad Rabbi Yoshua aragla va'amar lo b'shamayimi. And yet, interestingly enough, Rabbi Yoshua gets up and he says, even though the Baskol says that the halacha follows Rabbi Eliezer, we paskin lo b'shamayim hi. Ultimately, halacha is not decided. Halacha is not decided by the Ribono Shel Olam. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, and we decide the halacha. V'hainu shekvar nasna Torah mehar Sinai v'ne'amar b'shalacha kirabim v'al kein in anu mashkich mabaskol. We'll say now, what does that mean? In mashkich mabaskol, what does that mean? It would appear to be that a heavenly voice is a pretty compelling argument that the halacha follows that particular opinion. So we'll say, because remember again, there's another principle in the Torah. What's the principle in the Torah? Achari rabim lahatos. You follow the majority. You follow the majority. So in this case, the majority felt one way. Rabbi Eliezer felt a different way. And therefore the halacha follows the majority. The Baskol came along and said that Rabbi Eliezer is correct. Very nice. That's very nice. Certainly incredibly impressive. But Lamaisa does not alter the halachic process at all. So the Tzaddik deals with a very interesting question and says, I don't understand. So why did the Baskol come out? In other words, we'll say, you hear the Shaila? The Shaila is, okay, Achari Rabim Lahatos, right? You go ahead and you follow the Rabbi, you follow the majority. Fine, I understand that concept. At the end of the day, so why did the heavenly voice come out in support of Rabbi Eliezer? In other words, the Ribono Shel Olam also knows what's written in his Torah, right? After all, again, he authored it. He also knows. So Lamaisa, if he knows, he also knows that there's a din of majority. If there's a din of majority, so why even have the Baskol come out at all? It's a good kasha. To which Reb Tzaddik says so beautifully. He says, nevertheless, mipnei shehu rotze lelech b'derech zeh. So Reb Tzaddik says so profoundly, because at the end of the day, Rabbi Eliezer was convinced that he was correct. And Rabbi Eliezer was convinced that his position was truly reflective of the Derech Hashem. And this goes with our general concept of Baderech Sha'adam Rotze Lelech Molichin Oso. Rabbi Eliezer felt he was correct despite the fact that he was in the minority. Rabbi Eliezer felt that he was correct despite the fact that there is a biblical principle of Acharei Rabim Lahatos. And when the Ribono Shel Olam sees that someone is convinced of their derech, of the correctness of their derech, and truly feels that their derech is the Ratzon Hashem, the Ribono Shel Olam lends his support to that individual, even if objectively what the individual is doing is incorrect. We'll say it's a very profound yesod. It's almost like, if I was thinking about this a little bit, that I think in parenting, we sometimes do this also, right? Sometimes your child has an idea and wants to do something, and in your advanced parental mind, you're thinking to yourself, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It is such a bad idea on so many levels. But you see that your child is convinced about the correctness of it and the goodness of it, and that your child genuinely feels that this is a good derech. I'm not talking about where a child wants to do something chas v'shalom terrible or something. I mean that you just think it's just not a good life decision. But lamaisa, my child is convinced of it, and every parent knows, all right, there are times when you feel that chas v'shalom is going to be objectively harmful, that you step in. But then there are other times where you say, you know what? Okay, you know what? If the child is old enough and mature enough, it doesn't work with young children, but old enough and mature enough to potentially make informed decisions. I disagree with you, but this is the way you grow, and this is the way you spread your wings, and this is the way you mature. So I have to give you that support, even if at the end of the day, I fundamentally disagree. That's really what Reb Tzaddik ultimately, again, is really highlighting over here, is this idea that at times in life, the Ribono Shel Olam goes in and says, listen, I don't agree with what you're doing. And of course, when God doesn't agree, that's a pretty good indicator that what I'm doing is wrong. But Lamaisa, if he sees my conviction, and he sees my dedication, and he sees that I'm really committed to this, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, I'll give you the help to be able to do it. Objectively, it's not right. But Lamaisa, if you believe in it, and if you believe that it's the derech and the Ratzon Hashem, I'm not going to stand in your way. Not only will I not stand in your way, I'll even help you. That's why a bas kol comes down. Shabbos said, always so interesting, because we all know that story of Rabbi Eliezer, the Chachamim Tanur Shalach Noi, and everybody's bothered by the same fundamental question, which is, if Rabbi Eliezer was truly wrong, then why does the bas kol come out? Why does the bas kol come out? Especially when the bas kol stands in contradistinction to a halachic principle that the Rosh himself went ahead and espoused. Elamai, because Rabbi Eliezer was convinced that he was right, and he was convinced that it was the Ratzon Hashem, and b'derech sha'adam rotze leilech molichin also. We'll say one last piece and we'll stop. Okay, we're probably not getting an early start on the daf, but all right. So Reb Tzaddik says as follows. He says, "Va'al derech zeh mevor ma haisa gamkin hislonenus b'nei Yisrael al Moshe va'Aaron kishemesu Korach va'adaso." We'll say, listen to this. Going back a couple of weeks, Parshas Korach. Remembering, and we'll say something amazing happens. The earth opens up, swallows up Korach and his followers, right? A pretty clear indication that what? That Korach was wrong, Moshe was right. What's Klal Yisrael's response to the earth opening up and swallowing up Korach? Atem amisem es am Hashem. They accuse Moshe, look, you're killing Jews. You've killed Jews. What? First of all, Korach started. Second of all, this was an existential threat to Klal Yisrael. And by the way, as powerful as Moshe is, Moshe can't make the earth open. Right? Moshe can't make the earth open. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can make the earth open. And yet they're accusing Moshe of killing Jews, of killing Am Hashem. What's the pshat? He says, Mikol Makom Chashvu, turn the page. Mikol Makom Chashvu al zeh, ki lo b'shamayim v'lachin ein lismoch al pelach zeh shel blias ha'adama ki hochacha min hashamayim l'das ber shadinim. Moshe, listen to this. So Tzaddik essentially says that Klal Yisrael said as follows. Klal Yisrael said, Moshe, you're Moshe. And b'derech sha'adam rotze leilech molichin oso. You're a powerful man, Moshe. And there's no question in our minds that if you are convinced of a particular derech, and you are convinced that that derech is correct, and it is the Ratzon Hashem, the Ribono Shel Olam is going to help you down that derech. Did God want to open up the earth and swallow up Korach and his followers? No. You know why he did it? He did it because you were convinced of the correctness of that approach. But it is not indicative of the fact that was the fate they truly deserved. So I'll say, so again, literally what they're saying is, Moshe, you know what you're like? You're like Rabbi Eliezer and Taner Shalach Noi. You're like the Baskol. Rabbi Eliezer was wrong. He was the minority, and Allah was decided by the majority. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that you have convictions and sees that you're dedicated to your cause, then at the end of the day, He'll support you, even if you're not correct. So Moshe, you have convictions. You're dedicated to your cause. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is supporting you, even though what? You're not really correct. That was their Taina on Moshe Rabbeinu. So I will say, this concludes the Os, and what comes out of this are a couple of, I think, are a number of different lessons, a couple of sub-lessons. Number one, you see the power of having convictions and the power of believing in something. You know, say so many times in life, we're like parav on things. Like if you ask people, today, I think you find it a lot. I think a lot of times, like we're involved in a lot of things, and a lot of things are important to me. But like, what am I passionate about? What am I truly? What are my convictions? What do I believe in so much that I would even be able to sway the opinion of the Ribono Shel Olam in a certain way? The power of conviction, the power of dedication to an idea, to a principle, to a cause that is so strong and so intense that it could even lobby the Ribono Shel Olam to my side. That's Aleph. Beis, which is the primary lesson of Reb Tzaddik, which is how important cheshbon nefesh, introspection, is in life. And to really examine and to look at the derech, the path we have chosen for ourselves in life. Because very often we assume that if I'm successful, that's indicative that my path is blessed by God. And what Reb Tzaddik is highlighting for us is that's not necessarily the case. That a person could be enjoying life's success, but nevertheless, the path that I've chosen for myself is not the right path. How can you have success without divine, we'll call it without divine approbation? It's very simple. Yeah, sometimes in life it happens. You could have success even if God says, I don't think that's really the right path. As long as I believe it's the right path, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could potentially give me success. But how important it is to be able to take a step back, to introspect, to look at the way we're living, to look at what we're doing, to look at how we're behaving, to look at what we're engaged in. Because even if we're successful, that doesn't always mean that it's the right derech. To have the courage to be able to step back despite the success. You know, both say it's very easy to be introspective when things don't go well, because you don't really have much of a choice, right? And it's very easy to be introspective when you kind of hit a brick wall and the things you're engaged in are not yielding the fruits of success. That's easy. What Reb Tzaddik says is it's no less important when everything is going great and when everything is going beautifully and life is going according to plan, to still take a step back, introspect, examine, and to truly figure out and make sure that the way I'm living and what I'm doing is the true Ratzon Hashem. All right, we'll stop over here. Shkoyach.